The art of DJing goes back decades. I'd say the love of playing music for others goes back even further if you really think about it. In recent years, with technological advances, anyone with an aux cord and a smartphone can be a modern-day DJ of sorts. And that's not to take anything away from that. I think that's amazing. I really don't mean to disrespect anyone at all with this video. Of course, there are much more aspects to DJing, and it's not about the money to some people. Trust me, I know the feeling of dropping the right song at the right time to the right people and watching them go crazy. And for at least that moment, no matter what they're going through or you're going through, you're happy. It's funny, one time a few years back, I had a dream I was flying in a helicopter over EDC on my way to play a set. And I really believed from that moment on that it would happen one day. But little did I know, DJing was not the way to get me there. I used to think that if I could just learn to transition the best way or have the best drops, I would eventually blow up and be able to spin at any festival I wanted. And in time, I realized DJing was not the way to get me there. I realized that for the most part, until you produce a hit song, no one really takes you seriously at these big festivals. Of course, there are some exceptions, but eventually you need to create original art if you're going to really move on. Now let me clarify something. There's a big difference between someone who is spinning out of the passion and the love for it, and someone who is trying to make it a legitimate career. I get that. But even if that is your passion, if you're DJing for free, you're fucking up. I started DJing about 8 years ago. I spun at everything from little house parties to humongous weddings to like one time I was flown out to Indianapolis to spin for one night, to Hollywood clubs, to even one time I spun at a special ed prom, a bunch more. I'd say more than half of those instances were unpaid. Sometimes even if they offered to pay, I did it for free anyways. I just loved to do it. But there were times where I really did feel like I was being used and taken advantage of. See, here in California, there's so many clubs, promoters realize that there's a huge supply and demand for DJs. But they've also realized that there are hundreds, if not thousands of kids who will be willing to spin for free. In my experience, it's not even just free. Like, DJs are being turned into promoters and having to sell their own tickets for their own shows. It's funny because not until I actually talked to somebody who's from Kentucky did I realize like how stupid that is. She was like, what? She's a comedian, and she mentioned to me that when she moved out here, people were trying to do the same thing with her in comedy, and she couldn't believe it. Now, before I get ahead of myself, I want to clarify, this was me just a year ago. I DJ'd at a club in Hollywood called Joseph's for free, and also was told we needed to sell a minimum amount of tickets. So basically, this is how it happened. I have friends who had been doing this a lot. They spin at some of the biggest clubs in LA and have gotten in touch with a lot of promoters who are constantly looking for DJs to spin. I was always reluctant to do it because I could kind of see what these promoters were doing. Or at that time, I thought I could. I had never really been in one of these situations, but only seen other people DJing like this, so I decided, fuck it, let's give it a shot. Myself and my friend Danny have an EDM podcast called The Electric Sense, where we spin for an hour or so each, and it was doing really good. We got in touch with a friend who got us in touch with the promoter. He told us they were going to have a meeting in downtown LA. We drove about 2 hours to be at this meeting. The guy we were supposed to meet up with was almost an hour late. It was such an odd energy waiting outside this club with all these other aspiring DJs. It was like I could feel the aspiration and hunger coming off of them. None of these people didn't think spinning at this club or being a part of this crew was going to further their DJ career. Like, you could just see it. Eventually, the guy we were all waiting for showed up. So we started with our meeting, as this guy talked about himself half the time and how he's done this and how he can help people do that. He was honestly really feeding these kids hunger, and I could easily see it. Everyone was supposedly going to spin if they showed up. Halfway through the meeting, he said only people who got tickets to sell would be spinning, and he didn't realize so many people were going to be showing up, so not everyone could. I realized if I drove all the way out here for nothing, I was going to leave and never speak to these fucking people again. I was kind of getting pissed. Eventually, as the meeting concluded, he had people line up to get tickets. As the line built up, I realized, like, we're not going to get tickets. We're not going to get in line. Like, that's fucking stupid. So we kind of just hung around and we were about to leave when he sought me out in particular and gave us tickets. He knew us as the Electric Sense guys and really wanted us to spin. We spoke and I gave the guy in the situation the benefit of the doubt and took the tickets. As the days passed, I kind of allowed myself to let go of the negative connotations I had of the whole thing, and I just went for it. I promoted it all over my YouTube and social media, and we ended up selling most of the tickets we were given. The night came and all was well, until we realized there was nowhere for us to hook up our equipment, even though we were told there was. We were basically shrugged at when we asked, and we were told to make it work, basically. So we were like, fuck it. We made ourselves at home and placed all our equipment on top of what was there, and our set went off perfectly. No mess ups, the crowd was filling up, and eventually the whole club was in our side room, and the main room was basically empty. The original promoter we talked with came up to us a couple times and just kept talking about how good we were and how the crowd is really loving what we're doing. As the night went on, we left, and outside the promoter grabbed us and talked our ear off about how good our DJing was and how he really wants us back for the next event. This conversation is when I knew they were just sharks. He saw we brought a lot of people and they were all buying drinks and they saw dollar signs. Not a way of getting us to the next level as DJs, but an act that brings in money. I told my friend on the way home how I felt, and he basically told me he had no idea that I felt like that, and as he thought about it, he started to see it all. The next day I already had messages from the guy about their next party. I said we would love to, but I'm just not gonna sell tickets. I told him I promoted, of course, and link people to where they can get tickets, but I'm not gonna like hustle them myself. That's just not something I want to do. He basically said we had to, in so many words, and that's where the conversation ended. It was a fucking scam. It's smart. I gotta give him that. But it's a scam, and it happens all the time. Not even only with DJing. See, what they did and many other promoters do is they hire these DJs for free. Then they have them promote the club for free. So not only are they getting free entertainment, but also free promotion. Then they're reaping all the rewards from drink sales and ticket sales at the end of the night. It'd be different if you weren't telling people with this passion for DJing that you were really looking out for them and trying to get them somewhere. You're selling a fantasy. You guys are basically ugly strippers with no tits, and I'm sick of not saying anything. After this night, my entire view of DJing changed. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean the business of DJing. And don't get me wrong, it's one of the most fun things to do, but I will never do something like that again. The thing is, bringing a crowd like that is something special. Having the ability to play the right music, the right way, at the right time for the right people is a gift, in my opinion. When DJs spin for free in exchange for a good spot or free drinks, it devalues other DJs at the same time. See, most of these promoters are vultures, and I'm not saying that they all are. I'm sure there are people out there who really do give a fuck. I just really wanted to share my story and my opinion in an effort to get others to at least look at it with fresh eyes and to value themselves and their craft a little bit more. Correct me if I'm wrong. Let me know in the comments down below what you think. Thank you guys so much for watching. This has been awesome. Please give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you haven't already. Please check us out on Patreon, and you can get merch at audible484.com. It's the only way that we can continue to make YouTube videos like this, and I appreciate you all. Thank you so much. Shout out to the Patreon squad one more time. Smoke something, drink something, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace.